He may have struggled the most this season, but the oldest and the most successful French Open champion is not giving up just yet. Barely 3 weeks ago, he crashed out of the Italian Open after a degenerative foot condition had resurfaced. Yesterday, he became the undisputed king of tennis, but not before he acknowledged that he was given a couple of injections to numb down the pain before every game. This is what went into Rafael Nadal's 2022 French Open campaign. It's absolutely incredible. I have with me Gaurav Natekar, former Indian Davis Cupper, to look back on this campaign by Rafael Nadal and what will it take for him to go to Wimbledon. It's not as simple for Rafael Nadal anymore. Gaurav, first, let's just take a moment to realize how big a win this is, given the kind of pain that he felt or didn't feel, at least in the second half there, where he said that, you know, he played the final with his foot asleep, which in itself can be very dangerous. But quietly commanding performance yet again from Roger Federer in the final, from Rafael Nadal in the final.
Yeah, well, injury notwithstanding, just winning 22 Grand Slams is just, and winning your 14th French Open title, Roland Garros title, is just incredible. I mean, if you just look at the stats, we can throw hundreds of stats, but I think, 14 Roland Garroses and 22 Grand Slams, just on his 36th, just 2 days after his 36th birthday, I think is something that needs to be celebrated. As far as his injuries go, he had said that, I'm not a person with injuries, who has an injury. I'm a person living with injuries. And one can just imagine the kind of pain and sacrifices, he's been making over the last couple of years. Somebody asked him, would you rather win a Grand Slam title or would you rather get a new foot? And he said, there's no question that I would rather have a new foot. So I think he knows that once he stops playing, his body is really, really going to give him trouble. And that really magnifies the whole achievement that much more. I mean, words are not enough to really speak about what is the kind of contribution that he's had to the history of this beautiful game.
Absolutely. And the final itself then, it was a masterclass on how to play on court. Just the way he drew Casper Ruud, who's his student, his apprentice, so to speak, just the way he played him. He never let him settle down. One can understand that for Ruud, it was a huge occasion playing against his idol. But Rafael Nadal was unstoppable from the word go. At no point did you feel like Casper Ruud had any chance in that match.
I honestly felt that if Marin Cilic had come to the final, it would have been a better final. Marin has a big game, big serve, big forehand. He hits big from the back. He's beaten a lot of the top guys, including Nadal in the past. He's been to a Grand Slam final. The minute Casper Ruud won the semi-final, it was always going to be Nadal all the way, simply because Casper Ruud has a similar game to Nadal. Only thing is Nadal does everything much better. Yeah. And of course, he's got 21 Grand Slams to back it up. The Nadal Academy is very baseline centric. You'll see most players, willing to slug it out from the baseline. And that's what Casper Ruud did throughout the couple of weeks. And when you're playing against someone like Rafael Nadal, who does so much from the back of the court, it was always really going to be one side. And I suspect that, Casper Ruud was overawed by the occasion, was overawed by the fact that he was playing his idol, was overawed that there were so many VIPs in attendance, was overawed just by the whole atmosphere. And he said so after the match. He said, look, I'm going to tell my grandkids about the fact that I played this final. Now, even though he lost 6-3, 6-3, 6-love, the fact that he says that means that he was really kind of enjoying the moment, really.
I don't know, all I can say is that we're so fortunate to have been able to witness this greatness in Rafael Nadal, in Roger Federer, in Novak Djokovic, but one does get a sense that maybe, just maybe, and I know you, when it comes to the big three, and especially with Nadal and all that's going on with this sport, is this the last French Open that we've seen him play? We'll not know with Nadal. You don't want to put any bet on that just yet, but the greatness and why it becomes even bigger is that here is a man who's won 22 Grand Slams in an era when there are two others who won 20 each. On top of that, 14 on clay, Gaurav, at the French Open, when some of the greats haven't won a single French Open. You know, Jimmy Connors, there is John McEnroe, Pete Sampras, Venus Williams, Justin Enna, and the list is long. And that's why this debate of now, can he be called the undisputed king of tennis?
Look, I think that as of today, he's definitely the greatest of all time. I mean, we talk of, the likes of Borg, who had 11 Grand Slams, Pete Sampras, who had 14 Grand Slams, and all these guys who are legends of the game, right? And here you have somebody who's won 22 Grand Slam titles. Like you said, 14 of them on clay, which is arguably the toughest Grand Slam to play on, simply because of the physicality that is needed. And just spare a thought for the fact that when he first won his Grand Slam, I mean, guys like Casper Ruud and stuff were probably toddlers or were probably just starting to learn the game. And that should really make you realize the huge effort and the huge sacrifices and the way he has altered and changed his game over the years. He's already said that he took a lot of cortisone injections and he played with his foot asleep. So I think that debate, will continue to happen. But clearly, if you look at Federer, honestly, I'm sure there's millions of Federer fans, but to expect Federer to really come back, we still don't know whether he's going to play Wimbledon. I don't think, if he doesn't play Wimbledon this year, it looks unlikely that he will play Wimbledon next year. With Rafael Nadal, I think, is going to take every week and every month as it comes. He would want to play Wimbledon, even though there are no ranking points, only because these guys play for the slams. Yeah. He has won the first two slams of the year, right? I mean, so he'll want to play Wimbledon because also a lot of the top players are not playing because of injury, so the field is really open for a Djokovic or a Nadal to win at Wimbledon as well. For Nadal, it really depends on the foot. For someone like Djokovic, I think that now that he is at 20, he is still fit and he is still going to play on we are expecting a lot more time than Federer and Nadal. I still believe that Djokovic can still get to 22 or 23. But as of today, there is absolutely no question of who is the greatest of all time.
Okay, so now what went into this match, into this final winning campaign for Rafael Nadal? Just barely few weeks ago at the Italian Open, he crashed out of it because of that Mueller-Weiss syndrome. Now all of us have Googled up about it, have seen what it does to your foot. But this is what it took. Rafael Nadal, in a press conference after winning a record 14th French Open title, said this about his foot condition, where he said that he's been in tremendous amount of pain, he's struggled a lot, and he's been playing with injections on the nerves to numb the foot, and that's why he was able to play during these weeks, 2 weeks. He says, I have no feeling in my foot because my doctor was able to put anesthetic injections on the nerves. That takes out the feeling on my foot. And he also went on to elaborate on how that can go wrong, Gaurav. And that's where I'm saying the kind of risks that he's taking, because essentially you're playing with a completely numb foot. You don't know how it's moving, and it could, you could have a similar situation like what Sasha Zverev had in the semi-final, where you can twist your ankle because you have no feeling. He's taking the risk, and one that needs to ask the question, for how long? And this is what he said before I come to you on that. This is what he said when someone asked him that, will you do this in Wimbledon? Will you come back to play Wimbledon? And this is what he had to say. He said, of course, Wimbledon being a priority for him, for every tennis player. But he's saying that he'll have to wait and watch out. He's saying, I'm going to be in Wimbledon. If my body is ready to be in Wimbledon, that's it. Wimbledon's not a tournament that I want to miss. I think nobody wants to miss Wimbledon. I love Wimbledon. If I'm able to play with anti-inflammatories, yes. To play with anesthetic injections, no. I don't want to put myself in that position again. And that's where I'm going to ask you this, Gaurav. Where does he go from here? Because it's not going to get better. He's quite clear about the problem itself. Does he continue playing? And he would be tempted, given that this is the first time he's already won the first half of the career slam and, you know, Wimbledon and the US Open. Where do you see, how do you see all of this playing out?
Look, first of all, I have to be brutally honest. I don't know whether things have got lost in translation, but I find it hard to believe that when your foot is asleep or when there's a body part that is numbed, that you can actually move, let alone play a grand slam. So I don't know, I'm a bit unsure about,
Yeah.
how all of that has panned out. I'm pretty sure that there was some things that were lost in translation. But coming back to the grand slam, I think that it's a very tough decision. And only he and his team can take a call. The fact of the matter is that US Open has never been his favorite tournament. He's always struggled on hard courts, whether it's the Australian Open or at US Open. I think that winning the Grand Slam is absolutely the furthest thing from his mind. He's going to just take it week by week. Wimbledon is grass, so the impact on your body is not as much, especially on your legs and on your back and on your feet. So you know, if he's feeling fine, maybe 10 days before Wimbledon, he'll probably not play any warm-up tournaments to Wimbledon and just go to Wimbledon and see how it goes. But I think that his focus really will be to come back next year and try and win a 15th Roland Garros title, and maybe look at Australia as well, because he is the defending champion here. But I suspect that, I mean, if you ask me today, I would say that the chances of him playing Wimbledon are less than 50% for two reasons. One is that I don't see how his foot and his body is going to recover in the next 3 to 4 weeks. And, because he's not young, he just turned 36. So as of today, I would say that 50% or less chances of him playing Wimbledon.
Well, he's saying that right after this, then he will be undergoing some treatment for radio frequency, and they'll try to numb the pain down, some radio ablation. I couldn't really figure out what that was. But then he would consider surgery if nothing can be done about the pain. But yes, not an easy road ahead for Rafael Nadal from here on with that injury. Gaurav, thank you so much for talking to us and for this coverage. And it was actually a perfect end to this French Open. You know, Iga Swiatek, who'd been brilliant since last season, coming into the French Open on this 34-match winning streak, 35th, creates a record with Venus Williams. Rafael Nadal creates history yet again. A perfect end to this, a perfect culmination of everything.
I think both of them are crowd favorites, and I don't think the French Federation or the French crowd or even the tennis lovers across the world could have asked for more, right? You have a situation today in the women's where you have a clear favorite, right? And somebody who could actually go on to win multiple Grand Slam titles. Unlike the men, where the draw was, well, fairly open at the beginning, right? I think the second thing as far as the men go is that for the first time in many years, we are actually seeing three generations of players. You have the Rafas, the Rogers, and Novak Djokovic. Then you have the Zverevs and the Tsitsipas and, those guys. And then you have the youngsters like Alcaraz and Felix Auger-Aliassime and all these guys who, Ruud and all these guys. So I think it's, it makes for a fascinating script going forward. But as far as Roland Garros and Amelie Mauresmo, the tournament director, and everybody, I think that they could not have asked for something more. Everybody was a little, annoyed that the final before the final happened in the quarterfinal between Nadal and Djokovic. But, that's the way the cookie crumbles in tennis. It really depends on the draw. But I think all in all, it's been a fantastic end to a fantastic 2 weeks.
That's right. And with that, we'll wrap up this show. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for taking the time out to talk to us. And like Gaurav said, it is a fantastic end to a fantastic tournament. Can't wait for Wimbledon from here on. And the big question is, will Rafael Nadal play in Wimbledon? But for now, I think he'll just sit back and enjoy what has been a wonderful campaign for him. A miraculous comeback, really, for him, given that he was struggling with that injury, and then to create history by winning his 14th French Open and 22nd Grand Slam overall. At the moment, undisputed king, the greatest to have played the game. That's it then on this special. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.